What happens when the mind breaks before the body does? Today we explore a story that's not just about gaming but about trauma, resilience, and the power of transformation. Manhwa is a high school student who escapes into games. Not for fun, but for survival. Bullied relentlessly. He's forced to grind rare items for his tormentors. He's not just bullied, he's exploited. His classmates force him to grind rare items in online games, treating him like a tool, not a person. But not everyone is cruel. Ju-Arin, a classmate and member of the dance club, notices Do-won's suffering. In a brief moment, she talks to him. Kindly, casually. Small but meaningful. When someone feels so powerless, they stop trying to escape. Do-won doesn't resist. He's trapped in a cycle of fear and obedience. One day, tormentor Chil-woo gives Do-won an ultimatum. Obtain the legendary item Sword of the King, an impossibly rare item from the game in 1 week, before spring break ends, or be humiliated in front of the entire school, including Arin. The stakes. His dignity. His identity. His sanity. Do-won plays for days, no sleep. No food. Just grinding. This isn't dedication. It's desperation driven by fear and shame. Do-won encounters a mysterious player in the game. A powerful character known only as the End of the End. This stranger helps him defeat a boss and gives him the Sword of Fire God, a rare item. And then, his body gives out. Do-won dies. Do-won wakes up in his classroom, 1 week before his death. A glowing system window appears in front of him. It's real, he's been given a second chance. The system asks if he wants to settle his experience points. He accepts. All the skills and stats he gained in the game are now part of his real body. Still disoriented, Do-won is approached again by Min Chil-woo, who starts bullying him like before. But this time, Do-won doesn't react the same way. Do-won is confused but composed. He's no longer the same person. The system is active. His body feels different. His instincts are sharper. Arin, the girl he secretly liked. She notices something has changed in him. Do-won remembers the moment he met the End of the End in the game. This powerful player helped him defeat a boss and gifted him the sword that Chil-woo demanded. This stranger's help was the turning point. Without it, Do-won wouldn't have completed the quest, or had the strength to reset. Suddenly, a quest notification appears in front of Do-won. It's real. The system is guiding him through life like a game. His first quest. Stand up to the bully. Do-won realizes he's not just reliving the past. He's playing a new game. And this time he has the tools to win. He's no longer just a victim. He's a player in a real-life game. And the quest has only just begun. He's armed with confidence and competence. His transformation isn't just about fighting back. It's about rewriting his identity. Sometimes trauma doesn't just break us, it rebuilds us. Chapter 1 ends with a powerful message. When you change your mindset, you change your reality. Even in the darkest moments, transformation is possible. If you've ever felt stuck, powerless, or trapped, this story is for you. He doesn't understand what is happening, but he remembers that he wished his life would be like a game before he died. He says that he can use the skills he used in games. You find that Dawn is injured, so you get scared for him and tell him that you will go get the nurse. Our hero was in another world and didn't know if he had gone crazy or what had happened to him. Then he returns to the present and continues to follow the strange rules that appear in front of him all the time. He uses the skills he used in games and tells us that he was so obsessed with games when he was little that he wrote a whole report about a game called The Box Game, which was his favorite fantasy game because the main character was like him and was bullied but got a system, and they say he's still like him. He looks at the system and sees that it says that the special influence system will be applied, which is a sealed game. And then a lot of red notifications appear saying that all skills are under the control of the system, that all levels will be the same, and that the level will be lowered. Then it appears that the current skills are sealed, and that's pretty much it. Finally, he reaches the end of the game, meaning that he has completed it, so he yells at the system and asks why the skills are sealed and why he did that in the first place since he raised the statistics, but the system does not care and says that this monster is Cheol and that the prize is a golden key, which is the important reward, and he gets it. What happened when he died, and he turns the reward over by mistake, and the key appears in front of him, so he takes it and leaves, and when the students see him, they ask him if he hit Cheol again, because they heard a loud bang from the classroom, but he doesn't tell them because they bully him, and besides, he was thinking about from the golden key, which said that it would open when connected and turned, but he didn't understand how to use it, so he took it and decided to see how to use. Later, he also wanted to know who gave him this power, and he thought about the message he received and what they said with the monster that was his companion, saying that it was written in the same way. He talks to himself as he walks and points at the monster, but it doesn't answer or hear him. He says that when he gets home he will open the game and see for himself, but he is given a task, which is to accept the invitation to the party, and he is ready to go, but he doesn't understand how he will get there. When he was still thinking about how to get there, he bumped into him, but he apologized. However, the young man's mood changed, and he told him to wait while he went to get first aid. But the young man walked away quickly, thanking him, without understanding anything and wondering how the young man's mood had changed so quickly. Bleeds just from being hit. They say that it's the first time he's met someone weaker than him at school. He goes into the bathroom and finds Jimin, who says he wants to tell him something. Jimin is the friend of the bully, and without thinking, he wants to give him tasks to do in the game like the other students, but Jimin tells him that he doesn't play those games and that he saw everything and saw him laughing at Cheol. Cheol remembers the past and says that Jimin was standing at the door with Cheol at the time and was thinking of taking revenge on him since he and Cheol were friends. Jimin approaches him and tells him not to say that because it makes him look like a loser. And our hero was scared and thought he was going to get beaten up. But Jimin is being unfair to him and tells him that he's throwing a party with a bunch of girls and asks him if he wants to come with him or not. He doesn't understand that he's talking to him and thinks that in the past he said that to Cheol. And he remembers the mission and knows that this was the mission the game had given him and that he had to accept it in order to advance in level and become stronger. He tells himself that this is his chance to become stronger than before and not remain a weak failure, but he is afraid of Jimin because he is a bully like Cheol and will stay with his grandfather. Jimin tells him that it's okay if he wants to come. I'll save you a seat. Dwan tells himself that there's no way he's going, no matter what happens. When Jimin comes out, Dwan is scared and says that nothing good can come from those bullies, but then he finds out that he's been rejected and will be punished. The punishment is pain, and suddenly a ray of light appears between him and the bully. Our hero loses consciousness and sees all the bullies running towards him. He feels no pain but feels that the whole world is running over him. He is told to hold the pen for an hour, after which he will be asked if he wants to accept the mission. Of course he accepts and shouts that he agrees. He meets Jimin at night, scared to death. Jimin tells him that they are going to have fun today, but he is so scared that he takes out his phone and pretends to call his grandfather, telling him that he is coming right away. But the girls have already arrived, and they are looking at his picture. One of them agrees to get closer to him, and he is almost ready to go. Bo and Jimin go with him to the party venue, where they find a table full of all kinds of food and drinks. The guy tells him that his friend Hyung works here so they can get all kinds of alcohol for free, and invites him to drink with them. Jimin tells him to order whatever he wants and that he'll pay. Duan says that he looks nice, unlike his bully friend, but Jimin tells him that it's time for his mobile wallet to arrive. A young man enters, and Jimin asks him if he paid the bill. The young man tells him that he added 2 hours. Duan realizes that the same person who used to bully him at school is now bullying the young man, who paid him, and asks him if he knows him. He says that it's the first time he's seen him, so Jimin tells him that it's his mobile wallet and gives the young man a drink, but he bullies him and spills the drink on his pants, telling him that it's his fault and bullying him even though he's next to him, telling himself that he's not and that he's doing it on purpose. Dodo says that he saw this young man coming out of the bathroom, running, and it looked like someone had hit him so hard that his nose was bleeding when he bumped into him. When he went into the bathroom, he found Jimin inside, which means that he's bullying him. He grabs his head and says to himself, "Why am I doing this? I see myself with Bully." The girl says, "What is this loser doing?" and tells her friend to tell him off. One of the girls asks Jimin who is singing, and he tells her that he is just drinking and that it would be boring if they sang, but it would be more fun if Jihan got up and danced for them. Jihan is the name of the boy who is being bullied, and one of the girls tells him don't let him do that, and he tells her that he likes Ray and is close to Jihan, and tells him to do what he wants and carry out his orders, and that he will take revenge on him. He was listening and was terrified by what was happening, and Jihan got up to dance. And Don said he was going to the bathroom. While he was in the bathroom, he said he had to escape from there as soon as possible. They say that the only reason Jimin doesn't come near him is because he thinks he is a failure who hides his strength, and that he now has no abilities or skills, and that it is only a matter of time before the truth is revealed. He says that if it weren't for the punishment he wouldn't be here, but he understands that what is important is done, and that's because he came to the party and decided to run away before anything happened, but he stands at the door and thinks of Jihan and how he was bullied, just like him, and how they are alike, and he keeps going back to try to provoke Jihan, and when he gets to the second place, Jimin says to him that he thought left because he was in the bathroom for too long and Daewon was looking for him and asking him where he was. Jimin tells him, "Oh, you mean the girls," and says, "They went to the bathroom to fix their makeup," but Daewon says he meant the young man's pants, and we find that Jimin took off the pants, and tells him he's cleaning them because he was the one who put them in the trash. He is very scared, but he tries to encourage himself and says that there is only one way, which is to pretend to be strong and say to Jimin, "Give them to me." But someone enters the room and says, "Let's hurry up because we have a lot of work to do." He stands behind Dawn and says to him, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He feels like this person is a gangster or something. Jimin welcomes the young man, and it turns out he is the brother of a friend who works here. Dawn says, "How is this a high school student? He looks like a gangster." Jimin turns to Dawn and says, "What do you want?" Our hero prefers to look at the monster behind him. He looks at Jimin and is very scared and doesn't know what to do, so he tells him that he wants the microphone so he can sing, and Jimin gives him the microphone and says that he saved his life and that he was going to die because he pretended to be strong. He shows him a note that says the mission is complete and that there are side missions, and the mission was to hit Shin Jimin on the head with a microphone within 30 minutes, and the reward was a brass key. Dawn was shocked by the mission and stood there silently. A message appeared on the screen from the system saying that if he refused the mission, the punishment would be imposed, and Dawn thought of the tyrant and became even more terrified. Jimin told the big guy that he looked like a murderer, and one of the girls tells him that he is covered in blood, so they laugh and say that he shouldn't worry because he was just learning a lesson that he will never forget. We learn that his name is Euchre, and the man who was sitting above Jihan says that the store gave him pants for free and that he is also unable to express his gratitude for the place, and he says that if he falls, he will beat him until he faints, and Jimin sits laughing and keeps saying to himself, "How did I get to this place?" And he thinks about the important task and why he is there. The order system asks him for his order, and Yuk approaches Dwan and says, "Is it possible that this person is healthy?" Jimin says to him, "Even I didn't believe it, but it's the truth." He keeps thinking about the mission and says that if he does anything, the two of them will kill him, and if he refuses the mission they will kill him anyway, which means he is dead either way. He says that if only he could use the skill he used before, he would grab his head and they would say he fainted because of the force of the system. Time passes and there were only 15 minutes left before the punishment began. If he didn't do the mission, Jimin asked Dwayne, "Why did you put up with all this treatment before since you're so strong?" Dwayne was talking to himself and says that it definitely won't work, that he's still in the game or that the game has appeared in the real world. So he stops and Jimin tells him that they don't need to know and that he definitely has his reasons. Jimin tells him that he called him here because he has an offer for him and wants to tell him about it. He stands up and tells him to join him and that he wants someone like him in his group and that they control the whole area and that it's definitely a very good offer for him because he can get cigarettes and coal and money and control and girls and he can get anything he wants. Duan tells him that he doesn't want anything specific, meaning that he's refusing but respectfully, and he's very nervous and says that he doesn't want to get involved with bullies like them. Jimin tells him that he wants him to keep playing his game for longer, meaning that he wants him to keep pretending to be weak and that he should take back what was done to him and then his status will change. Our hero doesn't listen to him. He focuses on him and he thinks he'll agree to join, saying that if he joins Jimin, he won't have to do all the things he used to do to the students and no one will bully him anymore. Jimin tells him to think about it and get back to him later. Then he goes to the bathroom and tells me that there are reasons behind his mysterious power, and that it's definitely. He says he is no longer a failure and that if he joins Jimin, he will no longer be a failure and no one will bully him. But the second young man talks to Dawn and takes the golden key out of his father's pocket and asks Dawn if the key is his and how he got it. They say they found it when they got into a fight at school. Dawn thanks him and takes it from him, and the young man tells him, "I know it's not my business, but take my advice and don't go with Jimin." Dawn asks him why, and the young man tells him, "Because you seem like a good person and you're not like them." Dawn was listening to him, but the system sent him a message saying that there were 3 minutes left and the punishment would begin, so he became nervous and he says, "How did time pass so quickly?" and stops. He says it would be a miracle if he could endure the punishment for an hour. He says he'll make a call and come out of the room. He says that in a herd of elephants, if an elephant feels it's going to die, it leaves the herd and dies far away from everyone. Now he's gone into the storeroom and is getting ready to receive his punishment. There are only 30 seconds left, but he says that if I want to get out of this failed life, I have to overcome my fear and finish the scene with Yuk, who was sitting there bored and repeating a song, but he can't find the microphone, so we go to Jimin, who was coming out of the bathroom, and suddenly Dawn appears behind him and hits him with a stick Dayan head and tells him that he won't join a bully like him. Jimin falls to the ground unconscious, and the mission is accomplished. Dawn says that he would rather live as a failure than be a bully, and he picks up Jimin and takes him to another place. He thinks about the poor young man in the corner who is being bullied, and he finds and sees Jimin on the ground. He prefers to curse at the fat guy from Jimin's phone, and the guy who sees the message gets very angry and says that he did something crazy, but he considers it a reward for him and he thinks about running away, but he finds the fat guy standing behind him and he looks very angry. And the system sends him a message saying that Yuk has been provoked and that he's very angry and that they know a fight is about to break out. Yuk actually kicks him and throws him away, then approaches him again and insults him, saying he is stupid because Jimin didn't send any messages and he is drunk. He grabs him by his clothes and continues to beat him with all his strength, telling him that Jimin likes him and accepted him into his group, and now he's repaying him by beating him up. He keeps hitting him until he's bleeding from everywhere, and he says it's just poverty and that Jimin shouldn't have offered him to join his group. He looks at Dwayne's pocket and finds the microphone. He says he knew the microphone wasn't gone, and that's it. He knows that he beat Jimmy, so he gets angry even more and says he's a coward. Then Dwayne finally speaks up, yelling that they're the cowards because they bully weak kids and take their money. Yuk gets angry and throws him away, telling him to shut up. Yuk throws him against the wall, breaking it, and he falls on the stairs and the key falls in front of him. The system sends him a message listing all his active skills, and in the text where the key is he puts the key and suddenly in the light it appears. Yuk was with Jimin, seeing if he was alive or not, and he stood there and said that it was no use leaving him like that, without a fight, just to please Jimin, who was still unconscious. The important thing was that Jimin was alive, because he wanted to fight with him, to join him in the fight against Du. At that time, the system tells him that he must accept the fight or he will lose. Yuk attacks Du with all his strength, and Du wonders why the system gives him this power and always makes him fight against bullies. Suddenly, he attacks Yuk with all his strength, and he said that now he understood why the system had given him this power, which was to destroy all the bullies. He showed that he had acquired a new skill and attacked with all his strength, saying, "Come here, you pig." He attacked him and said that despite the difference in size, it didn't matter because his attack was very powerful. But suddenly he received a message from the system saying that he has no power, and he stands there shocked, not knowing what happened. Suddenly, all the power in his body disappears, and he hits him and throws him far away, saying, "Where did all your enthusiasm go?" This is because he was lying on the ground, fanatical, cursing the system, knowing that in order to master this skill, he needs to have 120 mana. He thinks about how he can get the mana and remembers the key he took when he hit Jim and Shoal, which is the second copper key, but he doesn't know where the key is because he dropped it. He says that during the mission, the key appeared after the mission was successfully completed, but fell on the ground next to Jim and Sheol, who was standing nearby. He quickly runs to get the key because there is no other solution, but Yuk won't let him go and pulls our hero back, continuing to torture him and telling him that he is just a bug and that our hero can't escape him. He tells him that his body is finished and that he has to go. He uses the key as quickly as possible and runs towards Soku, who is holding the knife, but he only manages to chop our hero's head into the ground, literally, and Yuk tells him that all this is happening to him because of him, and he is still trying to attack him. Our hero prefers to laugh and kick him while he has his foot on his head and tells him that he looks like a crazy from all the beating. Our hero tells him, "You're still laughing. I was just trying to buy some time." He tells him, "Yuk, you think I'm going to kill you by myself?" The elevator starts moving and comes down toward them. As soon as it reaches the door, it opens and our hero gets out shouting, "Get out now!" Yuk is terrified and runs away, but we discover that it was a trick by our hero so he could grab the key. And indeed, he was running toward the bathroom as fast as he could, but Yuk comes from behind him, furious, and says to him in terror, "Stay where you are." He couldn't move, but at the same time, he had to find the key and like he's going to crush him. Luckily, our hero finds the key nearby and grabs it quickly. He doesn't know how to do it, but he opens the system and finds the key in the power settings and actually turns it on. Yuk is skilled and gets close to our hero, who chooses the power of the mana so that he can perform the skill. Yuk approaches him and attacks him, but our hero has already performed the skill of the mana and dodges Yuk. Not only that, but he also jumps on top of him and then he hits him with a skill so hard that it literally shakes the place and leaves Yuk bleed from every part of his body to the point that he faints, and then the system displays a message that the mission has been successfully completed and he will be rewarded. This is new, and he takes the reward, which was a silver key. Our hero stands up, still in shock, and says, "Finally I can rest," but then he sees Shin Jimin coming from behind him and curses him while holding his head in pain. Yuk's brother, who works there, comes up behind our hero and says, "My brother is unconscious. Why is he like this?" Not only that, but all the gang members and thugs who were coming there suddenly arrive, and our hero is literally surrounded by an army of gang members and bullies, and the rap beats in our hero's heart, and he doesn't know what to do, and the scene shifts to the weak young man whom our hero was trying to protect outside the building. He can't believe that he finally got out of that place and thinks about what happened and the message that reached Yuk, saying that he was afraid for Duin and hoped that he was okay. We return to our hero, who was standing by the gang members, who are literally bullying him. He is standing in the middle, silent with fear and anxiety, and one of them approaches him and tells him that he will destroy everything he has done. Our hero, out of fear, thinks that this is his last day and that he will die at the hands of the people surrounding him. But, oh praise be to God, our hero does not die. Today, one of the workers at the place comes and shouts that the police are coming and that he will try to delay them a little while they leave. This is because the bullies are underage and their presence here is illegal. The bullies leave angry because the book was about to start, and Shin looks at our hero and tells him that he is lucky, but he will be afraid to walk in the street after this, and if they catch him, they will cut him into pieces and throw him away. To our hero, saying that he was lucky but that he would be afraid to walk down the street after that, and that if they caught him, they would cut him up and throw him away. Our hero pulled himself together after being unable to breathe, saying that this time he had been lucky to escape, but because of the tension, he fainted and imagined that he had lived a whole day of terror, a whole day full of events that should have ended his life, but because of the system and the power he gained, he was able to defeat powerful people. Our hero prevails and finds himself with a beautiful girl, and our hero is about to speak when the girl grabs him and tells him to be quiet, because they are in the girl's bathroom and the police are still there. Our hero keeps quiet and remembers that the girl was with them. And indeed, my friend, the police were outside, and the girl knows that because she was the one who called them. He is surprised and asks her why, And she tells him that she saw him beating Yuk and felt that she had to help him because he was not the person she thought he was. He's strong, our hero, and he does his Simbo pose and thinks she's fallen in love with him. He tells her, his eyes shining, that he's grateful to her and wants to repay her for her kindness. She tells him not to worry, that he'll repay her for her kindness, and she gets really close to him and tells him he has to fulfill her only wish. And our hero, he remains a tomato from the eclipse. And then we move on to our hero, who was sleeping on the bed and woke up to a call from his mother, who was calling him because she had been trying to reach him for 3 days and couldn't get through to him. Our hero is surprised that he got out of the bathroom, went to sleep, and woke up to find her saying good morning to him. Sleeping for 3 days, and he thinks he has literally gone mad. But the important thing is that his mother tells him that it doesn't matter. The important thing is that he is alive and to get himself ready because she's coming home soon. She advises him to study, and he realizes that he has indeed slept for 3 days and is starving. So he asks for food and goes to take a shower, saying that he has gone through all the stages of death, but God saved him, and thanks to the system and the power he gained, he was able to defeat powerful people and save his life. Then he opens his PC and says he's going to open the game and ask the player about the system he got, but he finds that the player has deleted his account, so he says to himself, okay, why did I take the legendary sword if he's going to delete his account? The end. And he remembers that when he tried to talk to this person before, the system responded, so he thinks that maybe he is sending messages through the system, which means that he has to learn and understand the system himself. The first thing he understands is that the system is simulating a specific game with characters, a beginning, a level, and tasks, and that he can use skills in the system. It treats bullies as monsters, which is why it gave our hero the task of killing these monsters. The rewards are keys that unlock certain abilities, and each task is assigned a key based on the monster defeated, which can be bronze, silver, or gold. Once the sealed skill is unlocked, it remains permanent. The last thing he learns is the punishment that will befall him, but the important thing now is that he is thinking about the problem he is in, which is that all the bullies are now literally his enemies. While he is thinking, the door knocks and our hero runs, happy that the chicken has finally arrived, but he receives a notification from the system with a new mission. It tells him that something has happened and that she wants to be with him. He is surprised and wonders who she is and what this is all about, but suddenly he sees the beautiful girl who was with him in the girl's bathroom standing in front of him, approaching him and saying, "You agreed to fulfill my only wish." Our hero is scared and runs back saying, "What are you doing in my house?" But the girl gets closer and starts taking off her clothes, and he remembers the rules and what the event told him. The girl says to him, "You too," and we were literally terrified, and the system sends him a notification asking if he will accept or not. The event was called Be a Man, and the important thing is that he accepts, and the girl tells him to take off his clothes, and our hero is happy and takes off his clothes and says that this is his first experience because he thinks that she are waiting for him. Do not forget that we are on a respectable channel and that he is also respectable, because the girl walks away towards the wardrobe and says that she will get him his clothes to go out, and our hero stands there shocked because his clothes are on the floor, and he says to her, "Why didn't you call me before you came? How did you find out where I live?" She says she doesn't have a cell phone to call him, and she found his address on the card he had in his phone case. She tells him she couldn't find a nice outfit, and our hero tells her that his mother bought all these clothes. She tells him not to worry, that they'll go out and buy a new outfit. Our hero is happy because it's the first time in his life he's going shopping with a girl. The girl dresses him in a strange outfit and even puts a scarf on his arm. She tells him that the outfit isn't nice, but that she has to find him one that makes him look strong, because he'll be with her all day. He's surprised, so she tells him that it's her wish and not to say anything. She gives him a second outfit to try on, and suddenly he comes out wearing a different one than the one we saw before. To be honest, he's just wearing a leather jacket. The girl tells him that the outfit is nice, and he's happy that she finally likes one. But then a notification from the system tells him to serve the girl a meal, and he tells himself that this is just a game and that there's no need to take it seriously. He tells her that he'll invite her out, and she agrees, but the problem is that he's sitting there silently while they eat, not knowing how to start a conversation for a whole half hour. All he knows is that her name is Shaun. He tells her that he wants to know everything about her because he only knows her name. She tells him that they will meet often in the future and that he will learn everything with time. She tells him that they need to move and that there is still time, but he doesn't understand what she means. And then he receives a notification from the system, telling him to watch a movie with a girl and then find some time to spend with her at cafe and sing for her because she was part of the event. The system also tells him to show her his dazzling side, which was what he was trying to do to get her attention and let her know that he was cool, so he kept hitting the hammer game, and the people there were impressed by him. He's good at games, but our hero notices that the girl is looking at a certain game, so he runs away and comes back 10 minutes later with the same game she was looking at, but he has a lot of it, and he sees her and runs towards her with love and joy to give her the toys he won. A huge bully grabs him by the hair and asks him who he is calling and who he is to say Sian's name like that. Our hero is crying from the pain because his hair is being pulled out by the boy, who has 2 other friends with him. They ask him if he really knows Sian, and finally Sian tells the bullies to leave him alone. He throws him on the ground and tell him not to call her what he said. They look at our hero and ask him who he is. Shaun replies that he is her boyfriend, our hero, and the bullies look at him in amazement. At the same time, they ask how this can be, since she is a strong girl. She goes and holds our hero's hand and tells the bullies that she has a date and they walk away. She tells them that this person is not her boyfriend, but just a guy from her neighborhood. The 2 girls stand next to the guy, and then we see our hero walking away, shaking with anger, unable to believe that the beautiful girl called him her boyfriend. Shaun suddenly pushes him away and says that they have arrived. Our hero looks left and right but doesn't see anything, so she says to him, "You promised me you would be with me all day today." The system sends him a notification saying that he has arrived at the last stop on her wish list and tells him to enter the building with her. She goes up to the 7th floor, which is where everyone is drinking alcohol. The important thing is that our hero is getting drunk and that they have to study and work hard and that there is no time for all this, but the girl tells him to stay where he is and not to do anything and that she will take care of everything. He enters a place that says closed, which scares our hero a little, but he finds that it is a place like a nightclub. Suddenly, a young man with glasses stands on the stage and says that there is a young man in high school who has been working these days and shows a picture of our hero, and the young people who were sitting there recognize him and say that he is the one who hit Yuk. They saw that he looked normal and weak, which means that he is not a gang member and the bullies are picking on him. When our hero saw all this, he was scared to death and looked at Shaun to explain, but the young man speaking told the gang members who agreed to get rid of the young man to raise their hands, and suddenly everyone in the place raised their hands and agreed to get rid of the high school student who had been harassing the gang members. There were 497 gang members, and all of them are against the high school young man, which is Duan. The system sends a message that real men are affected by the risks to their lives because they escape from miserable crises. Come on, friend, understand the meaning of the word bully in this context so that you can understand the events that are coming. The bullies in the slums, they are a group of young people who hate systems and enjoy torturing the weakest among them so that they can live in complete freedom without any restrictions. The only thing that enables them to do this is that they are in groups. Let's go back to our hero, who thinks about the message he received from the system and understands its meaning. Feels so terrified that he suspects that Shaun is going to hand him over to them. The young man with glasses who is speaking says that this is their mission and that they will move on to the second task, but Shaun tells him to wait and be patient for the second agenda. Everyone looks at her, and the one who thought he was going to die here, Duan, the young man with glasses, says that the second agenda is to elect a leader from among their own group. Duan says to himself that they are crazy and think they are UNESCO, and he decides to escape. Shaun says that she has found the right person for the position of leader and grabs our hero, who was trying to escape from her, and says that Duan is the one who will run for the position of leader, and everyone look at our hero and say, "He's the one who was supposed to be killed." The young man with glasses say that even though he caused us problems, there's no problem with him running for leader. Shaun says that he's the best person for the job and that he defeated 3 strong people in one day, which proves his strength and shows that he deserves to be the leader of the bullies. They agree with her and say that it's impossible for him to stay among the bullies. Shaun tells Doan to think about his situation and that all the gang members are against him now, and that if he wants to fight 500 gang members and bullies, he should leave, but if he stays as leader, everyone will respect and fear him. Doan also thought about what she said and realized that she was right and that the only way for him to survive was to remain the leader. He thanks Shaun for thinking of him, but she told him that she wasn't doing it for him, but for someone else who hated him, someone who was supposed to be the leader, but she didn't want him to be. Suddenly, the huge man who had been holding our hero by his hair appeared. He enters the club and we realize that this person is the only candidate for the position of leader. He understands that Shaun wants to make Doan the leader, so he gets angry and grabs our hero by the neck and chokes him, saying that it is impossible for him to become the leader. Doan can't get out of his grip, and our hero is left like he's stuck to a rock, and unable to breathe. The young man with glasses tells the bully that things like this cannot happen here, so he lets go of Do, who falls to the ground. The bully says, "That's right, I'm the leader," but Shaun refuses, saying that these are just empty words. The young man with glasses says that there are 2 candidates for the position of leader, and that he can't intervene. Suddenly, all the people who were sitting down start pulling their chairs aside and standing up. Our hero is nervous. He says he doesn't want to be the leader, but no one pays attention to him. Suddenly, he hears someone say that the fight will continue between the 2 sides until one of them wins, and if he wins, he will be the leader of the group. Our hero standing there in shock, not understanding anything. He says that just 20 seconds ago, they said that no fighting was allowed here. Our hero says that he must surrender immediately, but he hears someone say that the enemy will get rid of him if he surrenders, because it is part of their mission and they must get rid of him. Our hero stands there and realizes that he is dead. The bully tells Shaun that she is the reason and not to blame him for killing Doan. Suddenly, we see our hero flying through the air, performing a powerful move and landing on the bully with a very strong kick that leaves everyone stunned by its power. But he is surprised when the bully manages to block his attack with ease. He says that this person is smaller than the pig he defeated with a single blow, so how come he's not dead? He thinks that he won't be able to perform the skill a second time, and while he's thinking, the bully comes up behind him and strangles him so hard that his stomach starts to choke. And he remembers he thought he had seen this bully before and remembered that he was a fat person who used to bully him in the same way, bullying him in every way imaginable, bullying him while he was playing, bullying him while he was eating, bullying him even when he was in the bathroom, and every time he bullied him in the same way, and literally our hero was not able to live a normal life. The problem was that the bully didn't stop there. He strangled him until he passed out, then pulled down his pants in front of all the girls and the whole school. From that moment on, our hero's life was ruined. He became a weak loser, while the bully became popular and respected. And girls are all around him and everyone respects him. Back to present, our hero has reached the end and fallen to the ground from lack of oxygen, saying that these people should die in the worst possible way and trying to stand up, while the other bullies say that this is a one-sided fight and that he is just a loser and his family is worthless. Our hero hears them and starts to weigh the possibilities, thinking about everything that happened to him from the first powerful attack that didn't affect him to the grip that he couldn't get out of. Then we see the bully saying that he will remain the leader and that no one can compete with him, but he stands behind him and laughs at the bully's words. The bully says to him, "You want to die, right?" But our hero tells him to get lost because from now on he will do everything in his power to kill him. He approaches him, takes off his jacket, and looks like he is ready for a fierce fight. We hear the sound of violent and rapid blows, and when we look, we see our hero punching very fast, so fast that the bullies are impressed by his speed. To understand where our hero got this skill, we flash back to when he used the silver key he took from Myo when he defeated him. The skill doesn't use mana, but it's not very powerful. In short, the skill gives you a decisive blow after every 100 hits, but the hits before that depend on your strength. This means that Doan has to hit quickly to complete 100 hits for the skill to activate and defeat the bullies. But the problem is that all of our hero's hits were weak, to the point that every bully would call him a nice, handsome guy, embarrassed by his strength. Doan, who was obsessed with beating the bully, finally reaches the 100th punch and hits with all his strength, but strangely, nothing happens. He is wronged and doesn't know what to do, but the bully doesn't give him a chance to think. He grabs him by the head, throws him on the air conditioner, and applies our hero's head against the metal and tells him that he thought that after all this he could do something, but he turned out to be just weak and a failure. And even if he had a plan or anything, because he lost 130 kilos from his body, he underwent harsh and deadly training and his skin became so thick that you can't imagine it. You can't even scratch my skin. Our hero tells him that what he says is true. You were in middle school and you were fat like a cow. The bully is surprised that Doowon knows him and wonders if he knows this person or not. Doowon tells him, "Of course you remember. You're the one who made my life hell. You ruined my whole life. I lived the hardest life anyone could imagine because of you." The bully says he doesn't remember. He approaches our hero and our hero tells him to go away, but the bully says, "What are you going to do if I don't go away? You're still the same loser." He grabs him by the leg and throws him on the ground and is about to continue beating him, but a guy named Hanyeon tells our hero to give up and that person is the leader of another group. The important thing is that he tells him that he is wasting his time and that this fight is one-sided. Our hero is on the ground and feels that he is going to die here, but there is no other solution for him except to fight or run away, because the gang members will kill him. The leader of the group says that the fight is over, but Doowon hits the ground and says that the fight isn't over yet and gets up again. The bully says that he has the strength to make someone suffer and tells him that he's not tired of hitting him all the time. Shaun says that Do was severely beaten, but he's still fighting back. Our hero says that he's going to get his attention and run away from here, and he starts talking to him about his mediocre life and that he was a traitor but they were close and were friends, so he says to the bully, "You're not the only one. A little while ago you called me a traitor. How could we be friends?" He tells Doowon that he was just messing with him and Doowon says in secret that this is his chance and that after he runs away from here, he will go live with his mother on a deserted island. He runs as fast as he can, but we find that our hero has entered the jacket that he took off and is turning it inside out. He is about to fall, but he touches the bully with his hand. And suddenly a powerful force appears and the bully is thrown far away, literally, and breaks the iron from the blow, leaves all the bullies stunned by his strength. And they were all excited by the power of the blow. Even the spectators were impressed by the power of the blow. And we know that our hero had practiced this move and that he just had to loosen his grip, gather all his strength, and strike his opponent with it. He was happy that the critical hit had been delivered and that he had been able to defeat the bully. He didn't expect to win by luck like that, but he was surprised to see the bully standing up again, bleeding from his mouth, saying, "You were pretending to be weak so you could defeat me, but you have this power." Bully said he was going to kill him, and our scared hero was so shaken that he was trembling as he thought about it. When he used to play video games, he was at a level where he always lost and couldn't get past that level, but despite his losses, he kept trying until he finally won. That's why he repeats that he won't give up in this fight no matter what happens, and he decides to challenge himself with difficult things to become stronger and attack the bully back, who is flying in the air. And he thinks that there is a weak point in every living creature, which is the nose. If you hit someone on the nose, it will be very painful, even if it is the king of the ocean, the shark. If you hit him on the nose, he will feel pain and move away from you, even if you have trained your body to the maximum. Your nose is your weak point. Our hero suddenly hits the bully on the nose with a very strong blow and says that this is the decisive blow. The bully falls away from the pain, but he is not finished yet. Our hero says that he still needs to hit him with another decisive blow, but it is impossible to rely on his skill. The 100 blows are over. The bully was bleeding from everywhere and said he would kill him, but before he could finish, our hero came from behind and grabbed him by the head with all his strength. Finally, he overpowered him and kept attacking him, grabbing him by the neck and choking him, pulling him by the nose with all his strength. The bully screamed in pain so much that the bullies could hear him because of his broken nose, and the girl couldn't believe that he really had the strength to do it. They were shocked by what our hero had done. The bully had enough and his eyes started to water, so our hero let go of him and the bully fell to the ground, crying and saying that he had won this time. He stood up proudly, and there was a fire behind him because of the air conditioner that had broken on his head. But the important thing is that the scene was so intense that even the bullies said that he was strong. Because of the fire, all the bullies ran out of the building, and our hero was sitting under the building, trying to recover from what had happened and reassuring himself that Shaun was still there. Two people told him that Shaun was still upstairs and hadn't come down yet. As soon as he heard that, he ran back upstairs without thinking to save Shaun. The one who saw all this was the second most dangerous guy in the gang. Our hero ran upstairs as fast as he could, afraid for Shaun, saying that no one else had come to save her, and why he wanted to save her when he didn't even know her name. That's what our hero was thinking as he remembered the day he spent with her. He finally reached the place and opened the door, shouting and telling him to let Cian out. But he finds that they have turned off the air conditioner and the one who was there has left. And the women weren't involved in any of this, so he tells them that he came to find out if he was going to leave or not. The young man with glasses tells him to stay with their group for now and that the fight has been postponed because of the fire, and that he will let him know the new date in a message. Then he leaves, and he and Shaun are walking down the street together, and she tells him that she didn't want to give him a position without thinking, and that she has plans for him. She tells him to thank God that they got rid of the person who wanted to kill him because he is now one of the gang group. Anyway, they arrive at Shaun's house, and our hero gives her the doll he won for her earlier and says he saw her looking at the doll, so he won it for her, but there was only this one left. She tells him that she wasn't looking at the doll, but at the poster on the wall, and she takes the doll from him and looks at him. She laughs for the first time and tells him, "Thank you for coming all this way to save me from the fire." She enters her house with a happy face, and the system notifies him that he has completed 8 quests in a row and that he has completed the task. Doan gets a reward, but we don't know what the reward is. The scene shifts to the school, and we see that he is still carrying the phone holders. He enters the classroom, and when he enters, he finds Hanyaun, who is the leader of another group and the most dangerous of all the bullies. He was asleep but woke up because of the noise made by Doan. He was very scared, but Hanyaun tells him not to be afraid because he is still in the group. However, Hanyaun grab him by his clothes and tell him that even so, he must be careful of his actions, and Hanyaun tells him to calm down, and Doan says to himself, "I'm going to get killed now," and he tells Hanyaun, "I'm part of the bullies gang like you. We're not supposed to be like this. We're friends, we shouldn't fight each other." And Hanyaun says to him, "My friend, you think we're friends, but you didn't think about the reason why the bullies gang didn't get rid of you. Because you're weak." He replies, "You don't know that one of the rules is that the bullies can fight each other, and the strongest one can do whatever he wants and hang Doan in the air." He raises his other hand to hit him with his fist, but Hanyaun stops and says, "This is your punishment for trying to bully someone from the gang without fear and without caring about the consequences." He tells him that this is his punishment for trying to bully the members of Donkey without fear and without caring about the consequences. But Hanyaun suddenly lets him go and tells him, "Okay, I've changed my mind. We're friends now." Doan falls to the ground confused, and Hanyaun walks away, telling him, "Don't be afraid, I'll talk to the others, and from now on, any member of the gang will not come near you." Then the students arrive at class and he sits there thinking about what happened, but something else bothers him even more, which is that no one asked him to play with them, which is very strange, and we know that every new semester, the school bullies get together and pick on the weakest students and threaten everyone to show them that they are strong. If anyone dares to respond, they fight with him to prove themselves. During this time, the school is like a jungle where the strong beat the weak. Doan goes into the bathroom and finds Jimin in front of him. So he gets scared because Jimin wants revenge and tries to run away, but Jimin grabs his hand and blesses him because he is now a member of Baromi Dong. Doan is shocked because he expected them to kill him. When he asks Jimin why he is treating him this way, he runs away and tells him to please say nice things about him to Hanyaun, and that he is the one who let Doan know that Hanyaun wasn't lying when he said he would order the others not to come near him. This makes Doan happy because he will finally be able to enjoy normal things like everyone else, but he still feels uncomfortable because at first he thought the system was helping him and getting rid of the bullies, but in the end he became one of them, and that doesn't make sense to him. And he wonders if the system is using him for a specific purpose. He thinks about someone who is close to him and talks to him, and when he looks up he sees Erin, who is giving him a gift. His face turns red with embarrassment and Erin says to him, "I felt I had to thank you. It's not much, but I had to thank you." Without thinking he says, "Thank you," and Erin smiles. He could not believe that Erin herself brought him a gift. When he opens the gift, he finds an octopus, and Reem tells him that the octopus will help him regain his endurance. She bought it because she missed him a lot the last time she saw him. He is very happy and thanks her, and Erin tells him to eat it right away so that he benefit from it, but at that moment someone approaches him, puts a cell phone in front of him and tells him to play for him. Erin tells him, "Duan, do you know this person?" Duan says no, and we go to the dark room and see Kim Ji, who is a member of the gang family, talking to Honey Yoon and telling him, "You want to work with someone but you've never done that before." Honey Yoon says, "What's strange about that?" Kim says, "Nothing strange, I just don't know if you always have plans." Honey Yoon tells him what happened between him and Duan and that he was scared. Kim says, "Okay, that means one of two things, either he gave up because he's afraid or he was pretending so you'd take pity on him and let him go," but Honey Yoon says, "No, none of that. He was shaking, but his eyes were open and he seemed focused on something." Kim says, "Well, don't you think he's lucky?" Honey Yoon says, "I did feel that way at the meeting. I felt that he was special, but I don't work with him, so I'll understand you later. The important thing is that we enjoy what we're going to see now, and we come back to him." He gets up from his seat and goes over to the boy who gave him his cell phone and falls asleep, saying to himself, "How could he ruin the moment we had between us? Me and Erin, and we're going back to Kim." Who tells Honey, "I feel like the world is very quiet today." Honey Yoon takes out a photo and says, "Maybe it's because of that person." When he sees it, he is shocked and says, "It's not Sung. He's in the same class as Dwan. Can you believe it? Maybe we can enjoy today and see the photo of Sung with his face covered in blood after he beat someone." And we go back to Do, who has Sung's phone and says to him, "Didn't you hear me? Do. If you don't want me to beat you, respect yourself and don't do that again." What are you going to say to Honey Yoon? Be careful because no one will think to go near him. I am under Honey Yoon's protection. But Sung gets up from where he is and says, "Say that again." Do says, "Sika, you don't have hands or eyes. Why do you want me to play for you? If you do that again, I'll talk to Honey Yoon." Sung looks at him with a scary look, takes the phone from him, apologizes and tells him, "I heard that you usually do this, but I didn't mean to bother you." Do doesn't respond in a nice way and tells him, "Okay, now you know," and walks away, proud of himself because he thinks he's the strong one in front of Erin. But when he looks ahead, he sees his friend Erin taking it back so they can return to their class. Then one of the officials tells them on the microphone, "Second-year students can go to the cafeteria now." He says to himself, "If I go now, I can eat with Erin since we're friends." He sees Sung walking behind him, and suddenly someone grabs Duan's hand and pulls him back. He's shocked, but then he realizes that it's Jihan who grabbed him. We see Sung arriving at the cafeteria, but suddenly someone runs quickly past him and stops in front of him. It is a very large man who says to Song, "I'm in my 3rd year, you look like you're still in your 2nd year, so you have to let us eat before you." He takes out his mobile phone and calls one of his friends and tells him to come to him right away. "I'm standing at the door and I won't let anyone in before us. Don't worry, no one can talk to us." We go back to Do. Do says, "What are you doing here?" Jihan knows that they are in the same class. But he is sitting in the back, but anyway Jihan says keep an eye on him. Then Do asks him, "Why should I take care of him?" Jihan tells him, "You don't know Sung." Doan replies, "No, I don't know many people because I'm always busy playing games." "But why are you talking about him like that?" Jihan gets nervous and tells him that Song is not like other bullies because he doesn't bully people for no reason and he's not afraid of anyone, and he has a very calm personality. That's why he doesn't get upset no matter what provokes him. Doan says, "Yeah, so what's the problem?" Jihan tells him that the problem is that he changes his attitude 180 degrees as soon as someone gets in his way. We goes back to Sung and the big guy in front of him and says, "You're looking at me. Why are you taking my picture? Or do you have a problem with me eating before you?" Sung asks him, "Are you faster than me?" And the big guy says to him, "You're still talking back to me. I'll show you." But Sung suddenly punches him really hard in the stomach, and the big guy gets angry and says to him, I thought you were the one who asked for death, and he attacks Song very hard, but Song is so fast that he dodges all his attacks, and the big guy is shocked and says to himself, he's so fast and strong. I don't even know how to hit him. And Song says to him, answer me. I'm asking you. Are you faster than me? And he hits him so hard that the big guy can't stand on his feet and his face is covered in blood. At that moment, all the students are watching what is happening from a distance, including Duan and Jihan, who are thinking about Song and whether he will be able to defeat him or not. Jihan knows from rumors that Song was in the running club and the square during middle school, and that he must stay away from him because, despite Song's calm demeanor, he changes to be mean when he gets angry. Duan tells himself that this is a good thing because as long as he stays away from him, there won't be any problems between them. But since good things never last, the system shows him his enemy and his mission, that Duan runs at full speed and blocks Song's path, and at that moment, Don screams like a madman because he knows that this will end in a fight between him and Song, but he has no other choice because he only has 10 minutes left, and he is running after Song. Then we see one of the students crying. His glasses broken. He apologizes so much that he grabs Song's leg and begs him to leave him alone, but Song asks him his usual question, saying, "Are you faster than me?" We see Song's bag on the ground, and it looks heavy. Song picks it up and walks away, and the boy who was beaten is lying on the ground, crying. But Du goes to him. He gives him some tissues and tells him that it's no use crying over something like that. The young man thanks him and Du asks him if he wants revenge. The young man says yes, of course, but he doesn't have the strength to do it. 2 minutes left. Du comes back and tells him that he was the first one there, and everyone else bullied Du before. But don't worry, from today on, that person won't be able to hurt you again because I will beat him for you. Du is holding a large bunch of keys. Let's go back 6 days earlier. Dowan was saying goodbye to Shaun when the system showed him that he had completed his task, so he gave him all the rewards. Dowan himself was impressed by what he sees because he finds a large bundle of keys in front of him and can't believe that he has earned them all. There is a golden key and 4 bronze keys, and he wonders how he will use them. The system says that he must use them in sequence because after using the first key, all the other keys will disappear after a short time. And they tell him that that's how he was going to use them because he should never keep valuable keys like these, and he knows that the golden key opens any active skill automatically, but the bronze ones open the statistics, and he wants to use the keys right away. But he stops himself until a new mission appears, and we return to the present, where he has 2 minutes left, and he says that Song is much weaker than him because he doesn't have the same keys. We see him running, then going somewhere where no one can see him so he can use the keys. He starts with the golden key and performs the blind strike skill that costs 20 mana points. This skill by hitting the enemy in the blind spot very quickly, and he is happy with the move because it consumes a large amount of the enemy's health, and he uses the bronze key, and indeed mana increases by 100 points, and he doesn't know what to do with the rest of the keys, and he thinks about Song's skills, which are of the fast type, and then we see a girl is running to catch her bus, and in the middle of running, she accidentally bumps into someone and apologizes to him, but that person is Song, and the girl is exhausted, and after she finally catches up with the bus, Song appears from behind her and is about to catch her to punish her for what she did. But then Dowan arrives at the right moment and pushes him away from her, thus completing the first part of the mission. He looks at Song and says, "Can you forgive me if I apologize?" But the system gives him a second mission, which is to defeat Song completely. Don knows that he has to fight Song, and that's why he uses his deep blow, because it is well known that the first blow is the one that wins. Song is indeed hit, but he does not fall. As soon as Song looks at him, he says, "I will finish you off, you thief." Here, Dowan admits that running is his only strength, and he runs, but as soon as he turns around, Song catches up with him and grabs him by the bag. He takes it from him and throws it on the ground, and Dowan is shocked, because he didn't expect Song to be able to move so fast after he hit him, which means that his blind fighting skills are not very strong. But before Song can talk to him, He punches him again and laughs, saying, "What do you think? Don't you feel that my punches are fast?" Song dodges from his punches and throws his bag, saying that he's starting to get annoyed. The bags makes a very loud sound, which is what made Dowan wonders, and he says to himself what's inside Song's bag, and he turns to Song again. But Song easily dodges it and hits him even harder in the same second, and the bad situation continues. Song is very fast. So Dowan doesn't realize that the secret is that Song's bag is very heavy and Song is aiming a very strong punch at him. Song hits him, and at that moment, Dowan says that if he uses the guard, he will be able to end it. But the problem is that he doesn't know how to deal with Song's speed. Song gets close to him and says, "Do you want to go into a coma, or do you want me to leave you paralyzed?" Dowan runs and says, "No," and uses his general fighting skills 3 times, but Song dodges them as usual and says, "I don't know what kind of tricks you're using, but this isn't going to last. I'll show you my real speed." But one of Dowan's punches hits him. Dowan says, "You think you're hitting me, but that's not a fast punch, it's just a slow swing." We know that one of the main rules of fighting in games is to throw a slow punch in between fast punches to subdue your opponent, and that's exactly what happened. Dowan says that when he checked his stats, he realized he wasn't going to win easily, so he did everything he could to attack instead of being flexible, which is why his hands got so big. He tells himself that this fight isn't like the games he's used to because the only thing he knows how to do is win, and he's trying to apply his strategy, which was to first observe his opponent's moves. When Song dodged his attack, he prepared himself and protected himself, but this time Song surprised him by hitting him in the face and knocking him down again, saying, "You'll never beat me." Dowan was really hurt and thought to himself that Song is right because he is very strong, but he didn't give up. He gets up from where he is and curses Song and attacks him with all his speed, but Song dodges all of them, and even the only blow that actually reaches him. Song is able to grab his hand and take advantage of the situation and kick him very hard in the face and continues to beat him until he really flies this time and his body couldn't move, and Song approached him, ready to kill him, but then Dowan stopped and looked into his skills and his mana points and his health. But in the middle of his thoughts, Song approaches his head and pulls his leg back to kick him. But Dowan acts quickly and uses his general fighting skills to kick Song's second leg and knock him down. Happy that he finally managed to land a blow, and he had a new idea, which was to block Song's vision. So he grabbed his hood and covered his face with it and aimed at him with his other hand. But before he could carry out his plan, Song managed to protect himself and kicked him hard, knocking him to the ground as usual. Song grabs his hood back and he says, "I should have done that from the beginning," and says to himself, "I should have been faster." We go to the track and field competition, and Song continues saying, "It doesn't matter why, but I needed to win first place." But when he sees the results of the competition, Song is in second place, which makes him very upset. When he go home, we see his father beating him with a cane, and Song continues, saying that every time he lost, his father would beat him like this all night long and blame him because his father never lost first place in all the years he played, but the car accident was what left him paralyzed and forced him to retire. We see his father coming out of the room after literally breaking his bones and telling him not to lose in the future. This is why Song does everything he can in training every day, to the point that after he finishes his workout, he waits alone and runs to improve his level. His bag was always full of sand, and despite all this effort, nothing changed. He always felt that first place was too far away. At that moment, he came up with a solution, and we see him looking at the person in first place who is riding a horse. That person meets him at night and asks him why Song wanted to meet him. Then Song throws a piece of metal at him, knocking him to the ground, and attacks him with all his strength, telling him it is his fault, and if he hadn't been there and hadn't taken what Song wanted, Song would have never done that. And since that day no one dared to pass in front of Song, to prove to everyone that he is the best and the fastest. We return to the present, where Song says to Dowan, "Once, I put someone in a coma, and that's why I was kicked out of the stadium and the club, and my father abandoned me and everything disappeared." He picks up a brick to hit Dowan with and tells him that he won't be arrested because of the juvenile protection law, because of the law protecting minors, and before he throws the brick at Dowan, Dowan says that the most important element of victory is surprise, and Song aims at his head. When Dowan looks at him, Dowan is happy because he sees the octopus on his head, and we know that after he saved the girl from him, he put the octopus in his jacket because he was afraid it would fall off. Song takes the octopus and throws it. Dowan says it didn't expect you to hit it that hard, but suddenly black liquid appears on Song's face, and Song puts his hands on his face and says, "What's going on?" Then Dowan gets up from the ground and says, "Am I really the stupid one? How could you not know that when you grab an octopus, it squirts ink at you?" He takes advantage of the fact that the ink got in Song's eyes and he can't see anything, and he jumps in the air and hits him really hard on the head and keeps hitting him until Song loses consciousness. He's proud of what he did and takes his reward, which he expected it to be the keys, but when he turns around he sees the keys, but when he goes to grab the keys, he feels dizzy and unable to control his body because his health has deteriorated significantly and is getting worse and worse, to the point that he falls to the ground from dizziness. But he resists and gets up, saying that if he faints here, Song might wake up at any moment and finish him off. That's why he opens the statistics again and uses a key to increase his health points, which increases by 500 points. He then relaxes because he is safe and uses the rest of the keys, starting with a golden key, which activates his multi-hit destruction skill, which requires 200 points. As soon as he does this, he is happy because he was in it, and its only problem is that it needs a large amount of mana, so he raises the mana with the last key and says that everything is thanks to the octopus, and that is why he will keep it as a pet and even name it SpongeBob, but when he looks for it, he cannot find it until he sees Cat eating it and running away. He is so affected that he makes a picture of it as if it were a loved one who died. His cell phone rings and he talks to his mother, who asks him about his condition and his studies, while asking her where she is now. His mother tells him that she is currently living in Britain and Northern Ireland, and he is surprised, but his mother tells him to take care of himself and eat well because next week is the anniversary of his father's death and she won't be able to attend because of work, but he must go and visit on his own. He tells her he understands and looks at the photo of his father and mother, but then he goes about his business as usual to eat, as if nothing happened. But at that moment, we go to a deserted place and see a guy with a huge screwdriver who says to Song, "You embarrassed us. I still can't believe you got into a fight with one of the actors, Barami Dong, and he beat you up like that. I thought I made it clear to you before." The guy's name is Ji Baek, and Dowan is Barami Dong's deputy, Won Chun Dong. We see Song being held by two people, and Ji Baek yells at him, upset, saying, "Don't you know that we'll be ruined if our actor finds out about this? Do you think Barami can wipe us out?" He beats Song and says, "I trusted you and took you in, but now look at what you've done. I covered you with my wings out of mercy after your father abandoned you, and now you're working with me like this." When he sees what's inside his bag, he says to him, "You still haven't gotten over your past, and you haven't surpassed your father yet." He says that Ilseok will deal with Song, and Ilseok has one mission, which is to bring him Dowan, and we go to Dowan's classroom, and Jihan tells him that Song didn't come to school today, which is strange because he's never done that before. Maybe something happened to him, and Dowan pretends he doesn't know anything and says maybe he's tired or something, and he tells himself that since he's already defeated him, he might as well enjoy his life. But as usual it does not happen. Someone runs into the classroom and says that a group of young men broke the school gate and are coming specifically for Dowan, but before the person can finish what he's saying, the group has already arrived at the classroom, and what's more that their leader is coming, and when Do sees them, he gets scared because he doesn't understand what's going on, and the leader says to him, "Are you Dowan?" And Dowan gets nervous and doesn't know what to say. The bully says that he has to go with him right away so they can go to Bong Chun Dong, and Dowan feels like he's going to die if he does go with him, so he says, "No, I don't want to go." And then Ilseok changes his mind and says, "We're going to fight, and you're going to resist me, right? I want to ask you a simple question. Have 10 people. Do you think you can take them on by yourself?" Dowan and Jihan are both scared, and Ilseok says you know that if you get into a fight, you'll lose. Suddenly, someone enters the room and curses at Ilseok and his men, saying, "Are you Bong Chung-dong's men? What are you doing here?" One of Il-sik's men stands in front of him and insults him, but before he can finish, Hanyun grabs him and throws him to the ground. Dawan is shocked by Hanyun's strength, and Hanyun looks at Il-seok and says, "It's no use, you cannot take Dawan with you. If you insist on taking him, let me ask you a question. Can you defeat me with all your men?" But Dawan is not able to comprehend that Hanyun can take one of them down with a single blow. A second man attacks Hanyun, and Hanyun knocks him down with a single punch. The rest attack him, one after the other, and Hanyun warns them that they will die if they attack him, but they do not listen. Hanyun knocks most of them and looks at the rest, and he tells them, "I advise you to attack me all at once." And indeed, they all attack him at once, but Hanyun knocks all 9 of them at once. And now Dawan knows why Shaun was warning him about Hanyun. Then Hanyun attacks Il-seok and tells him, "You're the last one. I'm not going to hit you because someone has to clean up this mess. And I think that's a clear message because I don't want this to happen again." The guy says, "You think you can get out of here alive?" Bong Chun-dong won't let what happened go, but Hanyun ignores him and tells the others to get out. Hanyun and Dawan eat together while standing outside. Dawan thanks Hanyun, who is reassuring him and says that they are now on the same side. Suddenly, Hanyun approaches him and asks him what his secret is. Dawan is surprised and tells him that he doesn't understand anything. Hanyun tells him that what he has noticed is that Dawan can't beat bullies, but Dawan managed to stay one of the bullies somehow. "And I'm actually upset because of what you did to Song." Dawan thinks and tries to come up with a convincing reason to give him so he can avoid the question. After thinking for a while, he tells him it's because he's a bully. But after thinking about what he said, he realizes he's wrong about Hanyun and that the bully is also wrong, and he breaks the silence until Hanyun says to him, "You made me laugh, good luck Dawan," and leaves Dawan scared. Because Bong Chung-dong men could show up at any moment, but luckily, nothing happens to him. We see him later playing on the PlayStation and hears the voices of 2 boys next to him who are very happy with themselves and with the new items they have received. Dawan remembers the days when he used to play like them and spend all his money on games, and he is happy, but boys went to the bathroom, and at that moment, someone brings Dawan the ramen, and Dawan is shocked when he sees that it is Arin. Arin hands him ramen and he asks her if she works here. Arin tells him that she helps her parents at work all the time and that she is happy that her father owns a cyber cafe because they will get along well. Arin asks him if he wants something for free from them, and he tells her that wasn't what he meant. He hears a noise next to him. 4 people are sitting at the computers of the 2 children who were there a little while ago, and he can't hear them very well until he hears one of them say, "Hurry up, the kids are coming. We have to leave before they get here." Then the 4 people leave before the children return, and Arin brings something when she gets there. She notices that the boys in front of her look different, and one of them says that all the items that were in front of him have disappeared. Arin asks them what happened, and the boys cry and tell her that when they went to the bathroom, someone stole their items. Arin is shocked, and Dawan says that he didn't expect people to steal from kids. Arin says, "You mean you saw them?" And he doesn't understand because he didn't know what should he do. Then one of the children was holding Dawan's hand and crying, saying, "Please help me." Dawan doesn't know what to do until the system gives him a new mission, which is to catch the thieves who stole the child's items, and the reward is a silver key. And he doesn't think that he's supposed to defeat all 4 people at once because he's not that strong. But the system sends him a second message telling him that some missions have secret rewards. We see the 4 people beating the children and saying that they're going to sell the items for a good price. But before they can move, Dawan appears and hits one of them blindly on the back, and the other 3 are terrified. Dawan tells them that he can't forgive them for what they've done, and the system says that his secret reward is a date with Arin. So he's very happy and he gets excited and tells them to come and show him what they can do. He threatens them, but they don't dare to do anything. The boys go to get the thing back themselves, and then he hits the first one with such force that he faints. He is very proud of himself after beating up the thief and silencing him. He becomes even more arrogant, but he finds the thief getting up from the ground and realizing that he is still conscious even after the powerful blow. He starts to worry and asks himself how should he act in this situation and what he should do after beating the thief and finding that he is standing up. The thief is unable to think and gets angry, asking him how could he beat him like that. Then the thieves are surprised that a high school student would be so reckless and hit them, and how he has all this strength. At this point, Dowan stops thinking and decides to run away. He runs very fast, and they all run after him to catch him. He enters a hot area to escape from them, and during his escape one of the thieves says that he has reached a dead end and that he won't be able to escape. But the surprise is that when the thieves enter the alley, they didn't find him and are shocked because the road is indeed blocked and it is impossible for him to have escaped. But after they focus, they notice a strange-looking trash can that appears to be open, and they all laughed and went towards him to beat him up. But they were shocked when he jumped on one of the houses and used his thigh to hit one of them so hard that he lost consciousness completely. Then the system displayed a message to Do saying that the first thief is defeated, leaving 3 thieves remaining. At this point, the laughter that had been present disappears completely, and the remaining thieves are shaken by the power of his punch. They try to check on their colleague, who is not responding to them no matter what they do, and they start asking Duan who he is and what he wants from them. He tells them that his name is Duan, representative of the bullies in Barami Dong. The thieves think he is mocking them and repeat that they will kill him. One of them attacks him, but Duan is quick to respond with a blind blow to his neck, causing the thief to lose his balance. The second and third attack him together, and he responds by striking them both at the same time. The thieves realize that he is much stronger than them, and they become afraid and retreat, preferring to return back, but they found themselves in the corner of the alley. Then Duan attacks them with multiple blows, and the system tells him that he has defeated them. The second and third thieves feel guilty and feel that they are now just like bullies. Then the fourth thief hears them and asks for forgiveness. He decides to forgive him and tells him to return the things they took from the children. But at that moment, he remembers that he is supposed to defeat all 4 of them so that he can go out with Arin, so he goes back to the fourth thief and apologizes for what he is going to do. Then he hits him hard, and thus he defeats the 4 thieves and completes the mission successfully. He takes his first reward, which is a silver key. Then he takes the thieves and returns them to Arin and the children and makes the thieves ask for forgiveness from the children and return everything to them. He repeats that he forgives them, and then Arin appears and thanks him for helping her. She tells him that the thieves were causing a lot of trouble at work and thanks to him, they won't be back. She then tells him that she will invite him to eat and asks him to wait for her while she changes her clothes. He remembers his elementary school days and remembers a situation when 2 girls were bullying a weak girl, and he decided to be brave and stand up for her, but then the leader of the bullies appeared and hit him, and that was the first time he had ever been hit in his life. At the same time, it was the first time he had met Arin because Arin was the leader of the bullies in elementary school. And he was very afraid of her at the time and tried to avoid her completely until they finished elementary school and each went their separate ways until they reached high school. But now, her personality is very different and she is very kind and doesn't remember anything about Dowan. Dowan regains his focus and thinks about what to do with the key he won. He decides to use it before Arin comes back and opens a new passive skill called Weapon Mastery, which helps him use any weapon and doubles his strength when he has a weapon. But now, Dowan is very afraid because he feels that he must use the skill with weapons and feels that he will actually kill someone if he uses it, but Arin interrupts his thoughts and calls out to him. When he looks at her, he is dazzled by her beautiful dress and begins to admire it. Arin then offers him some food called tukupki and tells him that she loves it. Duan agrees, even though he doesn't like it. Then they go to a restaurant and eat together, and Duan begins to understand that it is the system that has allowed him to go out with Ren. And he is afraid that the system may have another task for him and that he will have to do it while he is with Arin. So he decides to ask Arin to reassure him and make sure that they will not go anywhere strange after eating. Arin tells him that she wanted to go somewhere with him. Then we see Arin playing Jenga with Duan, and she appears to be very good at it. Duan is suffering because of the food he ate with Arin, as it was very spicy. While he is suffering, Arin loses and drops all the pieces and she looks sad. Duan realizes what has happened, and he says to her, let's try another game. The first game they try is the lie detector. Doan asks Erin if she thinks he is handsome, and she says yes, and the device lights up green, which means she is telling the truth, and he is very happy. Then he asks her if she has a boyfriend, and she hesitates, but then she says yes, and the device lights up green again. But then she laughs and tells him she's lying and that she doesn't have a boyfriend, which means that the device is broken. Duan and Erin want to try another game, and it turns out that one of the thieves is looking for Du with another guy to get revenge on him. We go back to Doan and Erin, and they're walking together. She asks him to play the game and tells him she wants to try it with him. It's a game where you hit nails with a hammer, and the goal is to hit all the nails. Erin goes first and misses all 3 tries. Then it's Du's turn, and as soon as he picks up the hammer, a message appears on the screen. He looks worried, and the message is a new task, which is to hit Erin's head with full force, and the reward is a map of the tower. He has 5 minutes to do it, and he starts counting when he sees the message, repeating that he will accept severe punishment rather than hit Erin. But then he hears a sound of a new game, which involves a rubber ball, so he takes Erin and runs to play it together so that he can carry out the task. The game is simple. One player throws a stone and the other hits it with a rubber hammer. The winner hits the other on the head with the rubber hammer. They start playing, and Erin wins the first round, but he hesitates. He hits her on the head with the hammer after making sure she is safe and won't get hurt. They continue playing against each other until he hits her so hard that the hammer breaks in his hand and everyone is shocked. But that's how he wins the challenge and the game. Duan and Erin were leaving, and he felt guilty for hitting her like that and asked her if she was okay. Then he saw her laughing hard, and she said that every time she thought about it, she laughed hard, and that the game was very fun and she was happy with everything they did that day and that she was fine and nothing bad happened to her. Then her father called and told her that she had to go back to the second cafe. So she turned to Duan and said that she wants to go out with him again. Doan leaves after Erin leaves him, and the man who was with the thief appears and talks to someone on his cell phone, telling him that Doan is gone and that he will deal with him. Then he talks to Doan and tells him that he came to take revenge for the thieves Doan had beat up. But now he has forgiven Doan and he will let him go so he can go to the girl, Erin, and play with her too. At this point, Doan gets very angry and grabs the man, telling him to come with him. Then a message appears from the system saying that a new mission has appeared, which is to fight a person named Sun Minju. Duan and Sun Minju go to an empty area and start choke Doan. It is clear that Duan is weak because he used up all his energy fighting the thieves earlier. Sun Min hits him with a stick, mocks him, and throws him to the ground, but Duan gets up again and says he will stop him because he is afraid that Erin will get hurt. At that moment, Sun Min takes his metal fingers out of his pocket and puts it on to hit Du with it. Du starts to get scared and feels that he is in real danger and that he could die. He then runs towards Sun Min and tries to hit him, but Sun Min finds that Du has hit him very hard with the weapon, so he gets scared and thinks that he has weapon and wonders where he got it from. Then it becomes clear that it is not a real weapon, but the rubber hammer that was in the toy box. Here we see that Doan is using his passive skill to outsmart his opponent, and Sun Min thinks that Doan is mocking him and cheating because his hammer. He gets angry and attacks Doan again. But Duan hits him very hard with it and starts teasing him, telling him to remember that it's just a game, and hits him on the face, saying, "Good morning." Then he runs after him and grabs him by the waist, and he is about to throw him again, but Duan thinks quickly and hits him with a hammer on his back, and the blow hurts him very much and makes him lose his balance and fall to the ground. Then he gets angry and tells him that this is his punishment for what he wanted to do, and he beat him with the hammer until he finds that the hammer is broken. Then Doan thinks of using the handle of the hammer as a weapon, but a message appears from the system saying that the skill is disabled. The rubber hammer is a weapon, but a message appears from the system saying that the broken weapon does not work and he is skilled with weapons, so the handle is useless and will not cause any harm. At this point, Duan realizes the danger he is in and begins to fear for his life. He feels that he is doomed and that everything he has is gone, and he does not even have a weapon to defend himself with. So now he's in big trouble and he looks around to see if there's anything he can use as a weapon. At that moment, Sun Min call him over and say, "Why are you scared?" He beats him and tells him that it was over. He wouldn't be able to do anything now that his toy was broken. He felt the pain from the blows to his head and realized that they were much stronger than normal hands, to the point that he was covered in wounds. But Sun Min didn't give him a chance to think and continued to beat him severely without stopping until he fainted and fell to the ground. Sun Min told him that he wasn't going to kill him, but that he would leave him alive and bring Rin in front of him to show him what he will do. That way, he would kill 2 birds with 1 stone, taking revenge without going too far. Dawan decided to curse Sun Min and call him evil, but Sun Min attacked him again. This time though, he blocked the blow and hit him really hard in the face, and Sun Min fell down, but he got up and Dawan hits him again. He thinks that this time he has a real weapon, but we discover that Dawan has taken his father's belt and is using it as a weapon. Thus, he has gained weapon mastery skill over the weapon, and at that moment, Sun Min becomes enraged and feels that Dawan is beating him, so he attacks him again with all his might, but Dawan starts hitting him again, beating him badly and cursing him, saying, "How can you say that about Rin?" He continues beating him until Sun Min falls down. His right metal fingers fell and tries to stop the beating by grabbing the belt with his hand. Then Sun Min laughs at Dawan and tells him that this is the right way to live life and that his mentality will get him what he wants and will protect him. At this point, Dawan becomes very angry and says to him, "How dare you say that? How can you hold my belt so easily?" Then he wraps the belt around his hand and hits Sun Min hard, lifting him up and throwing him to the ground with all his strength. Then he takes Sun Min from the ground and he is unconscious. A message appears on the screen saying that the surprise is complete. Dawan goes to check on Rin and sees her walking with her father. He realizes that they are going to get something to eat, so he feels relieved that she and her father are on good terms. He goes home and feels he is relieved that the day has passed and that nothing had happened to Rin, and that he too had returned home safe and sound. He began to think about what Sun Min had said and how he would respond to it, and he asked himself if this was really the way he should live his life. He thought about how his father would have dealt with people like that in his life. He wonders if he had been with them today, would he have been able to respond to them, or would he have been unable to respond? But after thinking about it for a while, he decides to look at the rewards he received today and finds 5 bronze keys and a map. He then thinks about how he can use these keys and realizes that they contain a treasure. Keys are important and could get him out of trouble if a sudden enemy appeared like today. So he decided to use them now to increase his strength. Since he used everything he had to increase his attack, he decided this time to increase his defense with 1 key, his agility with 2 keys, his speed with 1 key, and his vitality with another key. This means he have used all the keys he had, and he will see the other reward, which is a map of the tower. He wonders if the tower will be like the games and if it will be a real tower with many missions inside, or if it will be something else. He opens the map and finds that it is the location of the tower and that there are still 5 days left to go. He has to take someone with him and go there, otherwise he will be beaten. Then he gets scared and doesn't want to go, and he feels that this challenge will be very dangerous for him, but because of the threat of punishment, he reconsiders and looks for someone who can go with him to the tower the next day. He goes to Hanyoon and asks him to go with him, but Hanyoon says no. And he is surprised and asks him why, and Hanyoon tells him that he is busy and will not be free that day. And then Dawan tells him that if he remembers his friend, he will stay with him through everything, and Hanyoon replies and tells him that he will help him and he is not cutting him off. He's busy, and that he also has his own life and his own problems. Then he starts thinking about who could come with him, and he thinks of Jihan, who is a good friend and would definitely agree. Then he remembers all the trouble Jihan has caused him, and he is very afraid that he will come with him and something will happen to him, and he feels anxious. His plan had failed. He was confused because he had no one else to go with him, and he kept asking himself who would agree to go with him. At the same time, Shaun appeared and asked him where he was going. He was startled and asked her what she was doing there and how she had found him. Shaun replied that she doesn't have his number, so she didn't know how to call him, but she needed to meet him and told him that since he is now an actor with Barami Dong, she should take him to meet them. He decided that he should go with Shaun, and he is very hesitant the whole way there, asking her if he can back out and trying to give her excuses, telling her that he doesn't want to be an actor and that he doesn't need to meet the group as an actor, so there was no need for him to meet the group. Then he started imagining the meeting and that he would be a villain who is giving orders to all the criminals, telling them to sit down and stand up, and he felt very uncomfortable. But Shaun interrupted him and said that they had arrived at the place and told him to meet them first and see, and if he want to leave, just walk normally. And when he entered the place, he talked in the same funny way that he imagined he would talk with, and tell them to call him boss. Then he looked at the people there and saw two men sitting down. One of them called him and said, "Hyung Nim, what's wrong?" He looked at him and got angry. The second man turned out to be Kong Suk, who had been fighting with Dowan, the gang leader. When Dowan saw Kong Suk, he got scared, and Kong Suk yelled at him, asking him what he was doing here. But Shaun replied that he is the gang leader, so it was natural for him to be here, and he turned to Shaun and asked, "What is he doing here?" Shaun said, "I told him. What's your problem?" Kong Suk became even more angry and told her that Dowan is a fake gang member, and that he had no business being there in the first place. This upset Dowan, who took off his bag in preparation for a fight and said, "You forgot that I beat you up and got you punished." But that's how gang actors behave. And Shaun responds by saying that he was treated unfairly and that he won because he broke his nose, not because he's strong or anything. Then Kong Suk threatens him, saying, "Come on, let's fight again and see who wins." The two grab each other and are about to fight each other. But Shaun intervenes and stops them, telling them to stop what they are doing because it is childish and all they are doing is hurting themselves. The man who was sitting at the beginning applauds her and confronts him, saying that he had been waiting for this and that he is finally happy that the gang has come together. He was surprised and asked her where the rest of the gang was, since there were only the four of them there. She said that the whole gang consisted of just the four of them, and he was even more surprised and asked her how they knew how many people had been at the previous meeting. The man replied that the previous actor left and there was a big accident, and then a lot of people left, but before he can finish explaining, Shaun gets angry and says, "Don't bother explaining. We don't have time, and we don't need to explain everything to someone like you, Duan. You won't understand anything." The man, wanting to get out of the situation, says, "You tell them, let's get to know each other today, just by name, so we can get to know each other better and avoid unnecessary problems." Each of them tells a little about themselves, and we learn that Sian has been a member of the group for 2 years, and the stranger introduces himself as Shinhyun and says that this is his first year as a member of Boraim Dong. Then Kong Suk introduces herself as Boraim Dong's representative and says that this is his second year in the gang. They know that he is still upset and unhappy about what happened because he could have become an actor if Duan hadn't interfered and won. Finally, Duan introduces himself as the gang's actor and says that this is his first year. Sian talks to Duan and tells him not to cause any trouble and not to get nervous. She asks him what kind of trouble he means and to explain himself clearly. Shaun replies, telling him to say that he ignored the warning she gave him about Hanayun, or that he got into a fight with another gang member, such as Su Song, or that he caused problems that are unnecessary. Of course, like what happened at school, it wasn't the gang who wanted to beat him up. She continues her explanation, joking and laughing, letting him know that she is sure he didn't do any of those things. At this point, he gets very nervous and tells her, "No, of course I didn't do any of those things." She looks at him and says, "What about the bruises and cuts on your face? Are you wearing makeup?" Duan looks even more nervous and thinks of something to say, then tells her that he fell and he understands she knows about everything. And he says to himself, "How did she find out about all this? She must be watching me." Kong tells him that. He looks scared and nervous, and it's clear that he's not one of them, and they get angry again and decide to fight each other. But Sian tells them that what she said to him is true and that it will be carried out on everyone, and that none of them should cause trouble with anyone because they are in a bad situation and are at their weakest, and that they don't accept any new members, so if they continue to cause trouble, there won't be any members left, and the group will be destroyed. Kang Seok responds to her with contempt and lets her know that he can fight an entire neighborhood by himself and defeats them all, and Du laughs at him, which upsets Kang Seok, and they fight again, but they are afraid of Shaun, who will beat them up if they will continue what they do. After 4 days, the tower will appear and that will be the day of his important mission. We will see Jibake with his men in their abandoned place, and we will see him talking to an elderly businessman, saying that he should start trying to get the money because he's already late and that will cause problems, and that if he had done it earlier, he wouldn't have had to come to the tower and bother with them like this, and their relationship would have remained good. The old man gets upset and tells him that the construction of the tower has been delayed because of him and his gang. He should have finished it long ago, and everything would have been ready by now. They know that the reason for the delay is that the workers are facing financial problems because he can't pay them, and at the same time, they can't find work because the whole construction project has come to a standstill. When he gets annoyed, he yells at Jibake and tells him to take his men and leave. But Jibake stands up for him and says that all the money he was taking was going to his men and that they deserve it more than the workers, and that he knows he has to pay them what they asked for in exchange for their hard work on the site, because it's their right. And what's going to happen now? Here's an old man. He's very upset and says that they are bad people and that he's wrong to trust them, but Jibake laughs at him and tells him to give him the money. After he beats him up, he takes all the money he has and they take everything else he has. Then he calls all his men and tells them that they are going to destroy the Barami Dong gang because they won't let what they and Honeyun did to him get away. After they got carried away and beat up his friends at school, he decided to get revenge on them, starting with the weakest one, who is Duan, of course. At that moment, we see his friends ready, each of them with a weapon to fight with. And at that moment, two strange-looking men appear, and it is clear that they are fighting each other. In the end, we find that they are Duan and Kangseok, and they go inside together to fight the whole gang. Like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below, and let's talk about it.